This is one of those thoughts that I'm honestly going to have trouble expressing because it's one of those things that I guess because I don't understand the point, I don't understand the origin, it's hard for me to visualize it in a simplistic manner. And then I start thinking about it and thinking about it. And then because I'm thinking about it, I keep finding points to counter something. But then it reminds me of how there are things that I do that to. And then I'm told, you're not supposed to really get that complex. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help it. And if you don't have an answer to what I'm saying, which I don't, personally, I don't, that's why I'm curious and I have the question from the start, then maybe we should consider rephrase how we express some things. And basically, you know how the United States, we say that this is the home of the free? Well, evidently, people are not to be trusted with too much freedom, right? It's just not a thing that is prudent. It's just not something that people can be trusted with, that amount of power, that amount of freedom. But sometimes I think about freedom and what it's supposed to actually mean. And I'm honestly not even sure anymore what it was that I was learning in school about being free versus what I know or think I know about freedom now as an adult. So to throw some things out there, you know, this country and the taxes, that's the thing that I think kills everybody. It's interesting that we were running away from taxes of some sort all those centuries ago, but then eventually we ended up coming up with a tax system that is probably worse than the tax system that we were avoiding from the start. And I only say that as a modern person, like how everything gets taxed, and even though something got taxed already, it gets taxed again. Like say my paycheck from my job, before I see it, it got taxed. As I'm getting ready to spend it, it's going to get taxed again. See what I mean? So I'm not really clear on how taxation is really supposed to work in a fair manner. But when it comes to being in a place that calls itself the home of the free, sure, this is the home of the free, but yet you're controlling our paychecks. To a certain degree, you're controlling our health insurance because you're not ensuring that everybody can get the same kind of health care regardless of circumstance, especially financial circumstances. That's going to dictate what people get and cannot get. And you also are trying now to control what we drive, like incentivizing us into using electric vehicles. And I get it, electric vehicles are relatively new, so we're still trying to figure out ways to make them more efficient, and maybe eventually they're going to just be better. I look at it like AI. Today is the worst AI will ever be again. Today is possibly the worst that EVs are going to be again. But we're going to run into a new set of problems that the rest of us simply are not prepared to deal with. And then I wonder, what are you doing to prepare those of us who won't be equipped to deal with it, to deal with it? And for me, you guys know my opinion about that one specifically. It's unless you're gonna give it to me 100% for free, and I mean absolutely greatest, like don't tell me in the future there's going to be a surprise hidden fee. Like unless you cannot offer me a 100% copy of this car, just electric, like an electric Corolla, I'm not interested. And I'm not going to just get into a new loan even with incentives because you're telling me to. So how is that me being free? See what I mean? And then finally, controlling where our money goes. You ever feel like your money is constantly controlled, and it's everything from where you shop, where you're able to shop, and once you leave that money in the places that you shop, what ultimately ends up happening with your money, what they ultimately end up using that money for. Like I've said before, even when I participate in politics, there's going to be some stuff that I'm going to be represented in, but some stuff I'm never going to be represented in. How do I determine which thing I put the most value on to be at the very least represented there, even if it costs me representation on another matter? Say, if I'm deciding to spend my money at Walmart instead of somewhere else, what does it entail for me to be giving my money to Walmart as opposed to another place? See what I mean? So, how free are you really? This is not going to be the last time I visit this topic or have some thoughts about this topic. This is just me kind of throwing the dart out there, getting this out of my mind, because there's just a lot weighing me down. And if there's something that I know for a fact I'm never going to change, is my curiosity. A shift like today absolutely broke me. I had a little bit of a panic attack while I was like in the middle of work. But all I did was I caught myself that I was starting to be a little sluggish. I caught myself shaking a little bit. And then I decided to just take it one thing at a time. Like, what noise can I mitigate? What worry can I mitigate? So then I said, you know what? The thing that's causing my anxiety is that I am trying to perform to my maximum capacity like I'm used to. But today is just not a day in which that's possible. So maybe today I'm not going to be very good as a cashier, but maybe I'll be excellent at customer service instead. And then if my customer service begins to suffer, maybe what I need to do is a more physical job, such as restocking our supplies or something like that. And at least my manager wasn't being a pain about it. Like, he was trying to encourage me to get involved in something else that we're supposed to do, like a little fundraiser for holidays. And I'm like, I remember a time when I served as a top contributor consecutively during these times in which we run fundraisers. Me doing a shitty job this season and maybe last season out of 8 seasons that I've done that, I think it's I think it's all right. I'm not going to be perfect and sustain the perfection. So I am beginning to accept that there's just going to be some times and some things in which I'm going to under deliver, and that's fine. I get under delivered all the goddamn time. Although it doesn't feel great to underperform in some areas, especially if I'm aware and accepting that I'm underperforming, what makes me look at it that way is that the most unlikely source in the world for me, my mom, gave me that freedom. She said, yeah, I know that I raised you a certain way, but at least you proved that you have that discipline. And the reason I know you have that discipline is that you are self-aware. I did my job and I'm proud of you. And if your performance now is going to have a time in which it's going to decline a little bit, then it's fine. Just let it happen. And then you'll pick yourself back up. Now, if you never recover from this, that's when I'll get worried and not really be on your side anymore. So yeah, hearing her say that, it was pretty meaningful, because even she admitted that there have been times in which she at her own job realizes that there's more she could be doing and thinks that she could be doing a whole lot better, but she's not really pushing herself to do that because not everything has to be perfect, and everybody ideally would be sharing the same goal. There are some people who are going to deliver on the expectations, some people won't. If the people who will deliver on it are going to feel overwhelmed, then what's the reward here? It just meant a lot to me to hear that coming from my mom, because my mom would have never tolerated anything below excellence, you know? But now hearing her say that she has learned that, I at least tell her and reassure her that, hey, your lessons are not gone. I'm not trying to dishonor you, but I just want to be, again, understood. Not necessarily agreed with, but understood. There's a degree of freedom that I'm trying to obtain from mental things, emotional things, like my expectations on myself, me being hard on myself. That's something that I want to liberate myself from. And I think this is the beginning of it. So if I'm living in a country that calls itself home of the free, then that should be an area where I should feel freedom. And that's the area I feel most trapped in. I don't expect for this topic to be particularly a relatable one or one that you particularly find useful, but at least for me, it's nice to share that your parents' perceptions do evolve, and they evolve for the better, and I'm glad that at least it took this long for me to get some things from my mom that I think I could have benefited from earlier on. But when I think about it, maybe it had to happen that way, considering my character and the personality traits that I was exhibiting at my time developing. I think it worked out for the best, because had mom been this, I guess, lenient, this soft with me back in the day, then maybe I would have gotten too used to being forgiven very often. And then who knows, maybe I wouldn't be someone who's as self-aware as I am now. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to tell me whatever you want, and I will see you soon.